beat down of the Titans yesterday at Ford Field. Got off to a little wonky start. I feel like Mason Rudolph kind of looked like Tom Brady a little bit in the first quarter. It was a 14-14 game. Somehow, the Lions just looked a little bit disjointed for the first 10 to 15 minutes of that game, Braylon Edwards. But when they turned it on, they turned it on. And it was special teams that I thought really gave them the jolt. You had Dorsey and then Khalif. Those two guys with huge returns, and ultimately Khalif with the return that we'll talk about. But this football team, everybody wanted to know how are they going to come out. The big win against Minnesota last week. You've got the Packers next week. How is this football team going to be up to play a bad Titans team at Ford Field Sunday, 1 o'clock? And we got a resounding stamp of approval on that one.
Yeah, when you're talking about special teams, don't forget Jake Bates. He added another 10 points to his list for this season. So great job by Jake Bates. He continues to be the gift that keeps on giving there at Ford Field. 100%, 11 straight field goals. He broke the rookie record. He broke the record. Two things resound in this game, Ryan Ermanni. Thing one, special teams. You know, you got to have three phases to win championships. You want to be the best team. You want to be all three phases. Special teams is starting to heat up. You watch the punt return, you watch the kick return, just the attitude and intensity in which they play with the kicking. Field goal kicking has been phenomenal this season. Whenever you get all three cooking, you're really good in this NFL. And the other thing I noticed, you got to get a pass rusher. I don't know what's going to happen. I think that was a resounding thing of what you've seen. You got to get a pass rusher because even Mason Rudolph, when he had time, he was able to dissect the team early. The secondary without Aiden Hutchinson, they just don't have as much time, or it doesn't happen as fast as it's provided by Aiden. So, two things I took away: special teams, and you got to get another pass.
Calvin Ridley, 128 yards in the first quarter. They were on it, but you know what? The Lions were going to score anyway with them. Even if the Lions gave up 40 points, if they had to score 70, they would have. They dominated in every phase of the game. It was the most enjoyable game that I've ever watched. My wife and I sat down. The kids were gone. We just sat down. I enjoyed it. 35 points in the first half. First time since 1970, back in the old days at Tiger Stadium, since they put that kind of number up. And then, of course, the most points they've scored in a game since, I think, 97, was it?
97.
Pardon?
97.
Yep, since 97. It's phenomenal. And they did anything they wanted. And it was funny because I called the trick play to my wife. I'm like, I'm sensing a trick play here when they were down by the goal line. And before you know it, she's like, how the hell did you know that? I'm like, just the way they were not going to, because they got pushed back to like the 3 or 4 yard line. I'm like, they're not going to run it here. I think they're going to pitch to run and he's going to throw it. And he did. And it was a great pass. And then that pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown, where they just thought he was going to run with Montgomery up the middle. It's first to go from the 1. Montgomery's in. Nope. Boom. Wide open. St. Brown. They could do whatever they wanted to do yesterday. It was a laugher. It was better than the Cowboy game because what happened in that Cowboy game. This was a real fun game. And I know they beat the Titans, but they could beat anybody. They're the best team in the league, as is. But they do got to get better, right, Bray?
They do. I'm glad you said that it was the Tennessee Titans. I didn't want everybody to go off on the Jollies and then you're like, oh, wait. It is the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are a mess. They're a mess on offense. They're a mess on defense. And I don't even count what Mason Rudolph did. Like, it's going to be bad for them. But to your point, man, it's like they are cooking with some grease. This is the NFL. You still got to make plays. You still got to go out there and you still got to execute. When guys will go back to their old teams or it'd be a special moment, Ryan and mine. So let's say it's like a running back's birthday or it's a wide receiver's birthday or they're playing a team where they used to play. Offensive coordinators would try to work things in there so you could, get off or you could score or you could do something, but they didn't overly talk about it. They didn't overly work on, like, if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. Ben Johnson's offense is so good in this particular point. Like, he's specializing in getting certain individuals the ball all the time. Like, he wanted to get both tight ends touchdowns for tight end touchdown day. He was going to get those touchdowns in the creative ways in which they went about doing it. It's very exciting to watch. Like, I don't know if there's ever been a Lions or Detroit team that I was excited to necessarily watch. You look at championships like from 2004 to now, this is an exciting team to watch on the daily.
And Dan Cable talked about that in the locker room. I'm going to play that for you momentarily, but I think yesterday's win was as important as any that they've had so far this season because it would have been easy to come in there and lay a stinker. Win the game, beat a bad Titans team, but just not look great. Look like, you know what, we're a team that is going to just show up and win. Yeah, we know we're playing a bad Titans team, but that's not what this team did. This team came in and treated the Titans like an NFL football team, and it's not about what you do, it's about what we do. And that's kind of what Dan came.
Spade to spade. That was not our best performance, really, on offense, defense. And there was a couple of things, special teams. But you know what happens? Man, when you do and get the returns and production out of special teams that we got, holy crap. Those returns, man, the return units, outstanding. Leaf, holy crap. Okay, and then you get 4 takeaways on defense, and then red zone. What were we in the red zone? 100%? Yes. 5 for 5 in the red zone. Man, holy crap. Right? Good things happen. I got 2 game balls. Before I get the Leaf, this guy every week, man, brings it, and he coaches his freaking ass off, and the most consistent unit over 4 years, Dave Phipp. Come on.
About players, man, and we got a lot of players in this locker room. It ain't about me. I thank God, I thank my family, I love you guys, and I love the game of football, man. It has given me life, all right? And I am grateful to God for the opportunity to work for him, man. Thank you.
All right, listen, so 4 years ago, 2021, okay? Brad comes into my office. He said, check this free agent out. He's at Tennessee, all right? They kind of use him. He's a gadget guy, really a returner. But you think maybe there's a place for him on offense. I watched 10 plays, and I was like, holy shit. Whatever it takes, Brad, let's get this guy in here. Made the call, talked to Leaf, got him in. Listen, man, he's been...
Man, talking about team ball, 4 takeaways. Khalil, kill him on kickoff return. I'm like, I got to get one, too. And I look at the tape, man. Enzo throwing opponents on defense stay for a punt return touchdown. It was so cool to watch. I'll go look at BJ. He's like, man, I don't get called by none of my plays, man, because we keep scoring. So it was such cool, man. That's what good teams do, man. They play team complementary ball, and that's what we just did. So love y'all. Thank God for this, man, and appreciate you guys.
You gotta love this team, man. Players like Khalif Raymond, man. He's a special individual. I had a chance to meet him last year at Amon-Ra St. Brown's bowling event.
Is he a good bowler?
He's a good bowler. All football, all athletes are good bowlers, if you will, man. But just a great guy, man. Glad he's on that team. Ryan, it goes back to earlier in the week. Last week when I talked about you said, how is this team gonna play? Because they're easily a much better team than the Tennessee Titans. They're looking at down the line. They're looking to the Super Bowl. They're looking to the playoffs. And I said, you know what? That's not going to be the case. You know why you don't have to be worried about that? It's the leadership, and leadership starts with 16 on offense. There were some times and plays you saw after he tweaked his ankle. They got up very comfortably. He definitely could have came out of the game, but he still attacked it with that same tenacity. You watched him. There was fire in his eyes. They were up 45 points.
Yeah.
It didn't matter number 16. 16 wanted to make sure they just still looked a certain way. The guys were held accountable. The guys were making sure they were doing their assignments. So, when you watch that to me was one of the most impressive things in the game. Like, they blew them out. They could do whatever they wanted to. Offensive, defense finally settled down a little bit. But it was in that moment when you're up by so much, he's still going. He still has that fire. He still was upset. He's still coaching on the sideline. So he's going to be the guy on offense that's going to get him there. He's a leader. And I think he's finally come out of his shell. He's not the same guy he was when he came here in 2021.
No doubt about that, about 16. But why did they blow them out, Tom Mazawey? And they blew them out because you've got guys individually doing their own jobs. As Khalif Raymond pointed out there, you've got Alex Anzalone blocking like mad on the punt.
He's your best defensive player, maybe.
So that's why, because these guys don't take anything for granted. These guys don't take plays off. These guys, unlike, when we'll get to the Washington game and the Chicago game, but these guys don't take anything for granted. And I think that's part of the culture that this organization has set up.
The reason Anzalone was even in on that punt, did you know the reason?
Malcolm Rodriguez out?
No. It was a 4th and 1. They thought that Tennessee was going to pull a fast one and go for it. They left their defense on the field for that punt. So their first string defense was on the field for that punt. You know what? Maybe they should do that every damn week.
Right.
Because every punt was wide open. Every kickoff return was wide open. I never saw them play better on special teams than they did yesterday. And there was a point in this game that I actually, honestly, as a fan, felt sorry for Tennessee. I really did. I never felt sorry for the Cowboys. I didn't because of Jerry Jones. But I felt sorry for those guys. They were beaten, man. Bray, have you ever gotten beaten like that in playing in a football game?
I have. I've talked about the story where the Monday Night Football Jets versus the Patriots.
That was a 45-point burger.
It was 49. It was 45 donut.
Yeah.
So we got beat bad, but it was a weird feeling though, man. It's like, I don't know. Like maybe I was on the opposition, so I just always feel like we had a chance to maybe make a comeback here or there with some weird plays that contributed to the loss. So you blame those. And there weren't any weird plays in that, man. There weren't any weird plays in this. That was a total beatdown. It felt like you were watching. You remember Alabama in their heyday? Or Georgia a couple years ago?
When Georgia laid it on, man.
When they're playing Bethel or one of these small schools and the score is 65-3, and you're like, yeah, that's about right. It feels right. It's college. That's what it felt like. It felt like a college game. But just getting back to this team, it's something that Lloyd Carr said. Shout out to Lloyd Carr. Michigan wins over Michigan State. Got to mention, Big Lloyd. He always said, when the team wins, everybody eats. Everybody wins. When the team wins, everybody has success. Everybody achieves something. You don't need to go look for individual success. Everybody ate in this game, man. The offensive line was outstanding. Once they settled in, Jared Goff showed you again. He only needs 86 yards, but he still got 3-4 touchdowns out of the thing. You talk about Khalif Raymond and how everybody's blocking on defense, how they're making sure, punt return, everybody is doing their job. Everybody is doing their job at a high level, and they're also taking coaching. I love the moment with Kirby Joseph on the sideline when he was getting cooked, when he was out of position. When he was out of position, he goes over there and he chews Kirby out. I told you, Kirby, you got to figure it out. But he chews Kirby, but he took coaching because what did he do towards the end?
Dude.
Made a hell of a play.
The very next drive.
Everybody is in for the team.
I mentioned that on the 9 earlier today on Fox 2. I think it was such an underscored moment in that game yesterday. Live television, just watching Aaron Glenn completely berate Kirby Joseph.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know if Kirby Joseph knows that that's on television, but it looked like he was getting coached pretty good. And what does the guy do? He doesn't put his head down.
Nope.
Doesn't sulk.
Nope.
Doesn't yell back at the coach.
Nope.
He goes out there and picks off a pass in the next play. That is professionalism.
Wow.
That's a guy that takes coaching and goes out there and makes a play. He doesn't complain about it. He doesn't cry about it. Doesn't cry home to mommy.
Cry to mommy.
No, he's not doing that.
He's not going to the bench. He's not having his teammates hold him back from the coach.
Yeah. Not telling you he's tired.
Not telling you he's tired.
Poor Rich.
Don't get. We'll get into that.
But I mean, that was such an awesome moment, Bray, and I was so happy to see him get that pick.
But it speaks to the volumes of Aaron Glenn and the coaching staff that players understand. Look, when coaches are coming at me a certain way, when coaches are and maybe look like a certain thing, they're giving me information and they're telling me you have the knowledge and the tools. We already know what it is. Trust the teaching. Trust the tape. Trust the conversation. So when players trust that coaches are only coming to them to give them the best knowledge, the best way possible, and they're working together and not against, players don't mind taking that coaching. Players don't mind just sitting there and saying, you're right, coach. Yeah, we did go over there. All right, cool. Let me lock back in. You lock back in, and now you get the interception. That's a two-way street. That's trusting the coach, and that's trusting the player.
No doubt about it.
Fabulous, man. That's why they take these players, and and we laugh at them. We're like, you get mad at them. Why can't you go out and get, I'll just throw Chase Young, a name out there. I'm just going to throw a name out there. Because he don't take the coaching like these guys do. He don't fit. They know what the hell they're doing. Not one of us should ever second guess what they're doing. And we're all are gonna. Because how much longer we got to the trade deadline? 2 weeks?
Yeah, November 5th.
November 5th.
Jeez, man. 10 days.
Week,
10 freaking days.
Not even.
For the trade deadline. And if they don't do anything, because Josh Uche, he got traded from the Patriots, linebacker. I don't know how good he is, but he's got a name.
He's solid, yeah.
He's solid.
Yeah.
But he went to the Chiefs.
Because
for what? A 6th-round pick.
Smart teams understand, look, you can give the Lions credit because they've done it the right way. Whatever Brad Holmes decide, we'll figure it out. But teams that win are the teams that I tend to look at. The Kansas City Chiefs, they seem to always find these fire sales in the middle of the season or right before the trade deadline to add players that definitely help them in the long run, whether it's Tyrann Mathieu, whether it's Juju Smith-Schuster, which was before the season, whether it's Sammy Watkins, who helped them win their first Super Bowl. They always find that niche, whether it's Frank Clark during the season. And then what does Frank Clark come? The all-time leading sack getter in playoffs because of that move. So they find those players. It's a fire sale. It's Uche. And they already got one of the best defenses in the NFL, but we'll wait and see.
But by the way, I was thinking about this before I forget it. So I don't know if you were paying attention to the game. Kevin Kugler, who we had on the show, he was very good. Very good, superb. Kevin Kugler. But Khalif caught the touchdown pass. And he's like, guys, here's the list of players that have had a touchdown return for a touchdown and caught a receiving touchdown in the game. Here's the list with Khalif Raymond.
That's the list.
That's the list. Khalif Raymond is the only player in NFL history to run a touchdown back for a punt return and catch a touchdown pass in the same game.
And let's talk about Ted Gims doing both of those. You got Devin Hester, who played wide receiver his whole first year. I feel like every time we turn around, and sometimes you have to stop and pay attention to what's going on. It's some record being broken, some record that the NFL at the beginning, that NFL record, it's some record getting broken by the Detroit Lions, by last year's Dave Montgomery, and it's Jahmyr Gibbs and what they did. Now it's Khalif Raymond, it's Jared Goff's with the touchdown versus incompletions. There's always something going on with these Detroit Lions. It's not just in the last 5 years. These are long-standing records. This is the history of the NFL. It's wild.
Dan Campbell talked about Khalif Raymond and that big game. By the way, 190 punt returns, 190 yards punt return, 15 shy of the NFL record. He had that fair catch, too, that probably
he could have broken.
He could have run.
If they didn't have such a big lead.
It was after the touchdown, too, that he had that.
Yeah.
So here's Dan Campbell on Khalif Raymond.
Leaf got a game ball in there, obviously. And told kind of just the story of Brad coming into my office in 2021, and early spring, we were fresh on the job, and he said, hey, take a peek at this guy from Tennessee. He's really a returner, kind of gadget. You think there's a place for him on offense, and watched about 10 plays, and I was like, yeah, absolutely there is. Take this guy in a heartbeat. So, and it's been a blessing ever since to get Leaf here. What a pro he is. Guys love him. Coaches, players, man, you talk about reliable, and he's consistent, and the way he prepares, the way he works, and he does everything for us, man. He can play all the positions on offense. He's a dynamic returner. That was good to see, man. It's been a while since we got some big ones. And he's just, man, he's the best.
Oh, yeah. I remember it was 2017. Oh, goodness gracious. I was struggling. Had a lot of fear, a lot of doubt. I remember I walked off the field. I want to say I was playing for the Giants. I was like, I just played my last NFL game. I actually told myself that in my head. And then I had a choice during that time, that off season. I was like, I can either go in the tank and just kind of quit, or I can give everything that I have. And that summer which ended up being the same summer that my mom with the noodles. I trained so hard. I trained. Probably even overtrained, you could say. But I trained so hard, I had so much help, and I had a lot of people that kind of helped me keep going. And I'm just thankful, thank God to be here today to continue doing what I'm doing. It's a testament to two different, one of the guys we got on this team, everybody puts their best foot forward every play. And then he got Ben. I mean, he can draw up anything for anybody. And he puts us in his best position every week. And it's so cool when he'll talk about something over and over in a week, and coverages and what we're expecting, and you get to the game, it's like, it's exactly what he said it was going to be. And he's setting up things from 2 weeks prior. So it's really cool not only to be able to play on this team, but to be able to play for somebody like that who's so detailed, so innovative. So it's really cool to watch it. It was a really cool game. The last two that we played, I was telling some of the guys, Minnesota's like top 5 funnest game of all times, and then to come follow it up with this one. Just to be playing such a team game is so fun. Special teams, defense, takeaways, offense, pushing it in. It's just really fun to be part of a football team like that. So really cool.
And really cool that you see a guy like Khalif Raymond get his due as well. He's had some struggles in the NFL. He's come here and been just tremendous. Dealt with an injury last year, and then have come back better than ever. And he's just a great guy, too. By all accounts, you'll never hear anybody say a bad word about Khalif Raymond.
Those special teams guys, like from my experience in the NFL, they're always guys that are maybe the fifth or sixth wide receiver on a team, or the sixth or seventh defensive back on a team, and they play special teams, they barely make it. And they always give everything they have because, they're, almost out of the league. So what happens is you're taking these guys that are stars when they come out of college, and come out with a lot of potential. Now you're putting them in these roles where they understand how blessed they are to be on the team, and they approach it differently. Like Brad Smith was the guy when I played for. Do you remember Brad Smith?
Of course.
Like he would do
he
it
played
all.
Quarterback too
At Missouri. Every year he was in the Heisman race for the first 8 years of 8 games of the season. But they would ask him to do whatever. He would run reverses. He would throw fake passes. He would kickoff return. He'd do punt return. He'd go down on kickoff. He'd go down on punt. It didn't matter what they asked him to do. He loved doing it. Those guys are always the best guy, man. They're like the Swiss Army knives, but they just understand that at any given moment, they can be sitting at the crib. So they give that extra energy. And sometimes you look at it as like, I got to stop BSing. Like I got to start putting more into the sport. I got to start putting more into the film study and more into the appreciation of being here. Love guys like that.
Listen, man.
Josh Cribbs was another one when I was with Cleveland Browns.
Last year, we were at the last game of the season against Minnesota. Remember that game?
I remember.
And Sam Laporta went down with the knee injury, and we escaped. He was okay. Not 100%, but he was able to move on. You know who else got hurt in that game? Khalif Raymond. And he was not okay. And you wonder why
that's a good call,
you
man.
come up this short in San Francisco. You have that guy, you're in the Super Bowl. That's how important this entire team is together. And you take Hutch away from that defense, they're still playing their hearts out. Anzalone's doing more. Everyone's doing more. But they are short. They are short. And if they really want to take it off the sheet and win it all, I do believe in the next week they probably should go out there and help that defense a little bit, because you got to rush the passer. You can't. Even though the secondary has been outstanding this year and they're getting better by the week, you got to help them.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Man, I think because you're so playful, you're so funny, you're so jokative on the show. I think sometimes I forget and take for granted how good you are at your job, how good you are at tying things in. Like that was an excellent job of how you went from this and you brought it all the way back to Hutch and what the Lions need to do. I'm just giving you some flowers.
Thanks,
I think
bro.
that was. Sometimes you forget, you have done this for a while, so salute.
After 2 weeks, after playing without Aiden Hutchinson for 2 weeks, though, they know what they have.
Yeah.
And they know what they need.
Yeah.
It's not
And
enough.
I think all of us would be shocked if they didn't do anything. Now, they might not do the Montez Sweat splash that we all want them to do,
Right.
but I guarantee you, whoever they get, that's a player that fits their scheme, their locker room, their talent pool. I guarantee you that. Brad Holmes is not adding a player to this squad that he doesn't believe in and that he doesn't think can contribute to success on the field. He's just not adding a body to add a body. That's just not in his nature. Now, again, it might not be in his nature to give up 3 first-round picks and sign Max Crosby either.
Right.
And that's fine, too.
You might not have to.
And you might not have to, but that's the point. How many of us go bonkers when they don't sign Montez Sweat or trade? Oh, they got Montez Sweat for a 6th-round pick. All you had to do was sign him to a $100 million deal. We freak out. They stay calm.
I'm gonna go on record now. I think I have an idea of what Brad Holmes might do, and maybe this is just me hoping that I'm right about my idea. I don't think it's gonna be a super splash on one player. I think you're gonna get 2 players.
I hope.
Like I think that's the move. I think that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for the perfect 2 players to combine with this defense, like you said, to the infrastructure that already exists. I don't think they're going to get the 1 player and be handicapped by that player. You get 2. Because in my estimation, you get 2 pass rushers, 2 guys of $10 million. You mix those together, it helps you on both sides of the ball, which helps the interior. So I think that is the move. But I'm not waiting for the Max Crosby splash anymore, like you said, Ryan. I'm not waiting for the Myles Garrett splash or splashes like Uche or whatever. I'm just going to trust the process because that seems to always work for the Detroit Lions and Brad Holmes.
How about that kid Arden Key yesterday? He was in on every play in the first half.
I heard his name a lot.
Just switch him over. Switch locker rooms, man. Leave him behind.
That's also because he has Big Simmons up front.
Can you guys?
Simmons is a problem.
Let me ask you a silly question. So, at my house yesterday, watching the game with my dad, my stepdad, my father-in-law, and my brother.
Oh,
it
nice.
It was awesome. And my dad looked at me at one point, and he just said, "Can you believe this? Like, the Lions, does it ever sink into you guys that we are watching the best team in the NFL?"
Yeah.
I still don't believe it sometimes that this is the Lions here. Does that register?
Facts.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm in awe. I am in awe of this team.
you're sitting there 52-14 KG, and you're
It's
like,
wild.
this is incredible.
I have cousins and friends from all over the country writing me, and I haven't heard from them in years. In the last year, and especially this year.
So at the line.
And they're like, "Man, what do you got there in Detroit, Tommy? What do you got?" I'm like, "We got the best team in the NFL. That's what we have. Easily the best team in the NFL."
Yeah.
Go ahead, KG.
No, I'm just saying, I've been saying all day, it's just amazing that, how many times have the Lions been favored in the game, clearly the better team in the game, and they come in against a team like the Titans and struggle the whole game.
Yeah, their whole existence.
Like the fact that you were able to pretty much wrap this up in 3 quarters, and in the 4th quarter, you could do whatever the hell you wanted to do. You go rake the leaves, you go to the cider mill, whatever.
35-14 at the half.
Yeah, we saw Hendon Hooker for a whole quarter in NFL regulation football, and that's not lost on me at all. You did say that, though. Good call.
I was hoping
That was Sione Vaki.
I was hoping Hooker was going to come in and dominate.
Me too.
And kind of be like, "Hey, NFL, look who this is." You get a game like Hendon Hooker, and then you're like, "Oh, maybe this is a trade chip."
Yeah, because the only problem is because you bring in Hendon Hooker, you also bring in all the other backups.
Correct.
So Hendon's not getting
Isaiah, what's Isaiah's last name? Williams?
Williams.
He was out there.
He was,
with Hendon
yeah.
Hooker.
I hadn't
He
seen
had
him
the
since
same outfit.
preseason.
Right, Craig Reynolds, the whole backup crew was out there.
Come on, Craig.